Welcome to the Advanced Reporting class. This is the first report from the Advanced Reporting class. This report is the task by date report, which we built in the beginner course, worked on in the intermediate course, and we will continue to work on in the advanced course. So here I have the intermediate example. I can duplicate this report and rename it. I've duplicated the report and renamed it. I have one open already that I've gone ahead and duplicated and renamed that we will get started with. I've also pulled open the designer, so we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do with this report is to add a chart. To do so, we will go ahead and select the Table Tasks object and choose Append an Element. Right-click and choose Append an Element. I can then choose Chart as my type, and I'll scroll through my source tables and choose Tasks. In the chart window, I'm going to go ahead and type tasks.activity as my coordinate value. I'm going to leave it as a circle chart. The coordinate value is going to be what data am I looking at? And I'm going to go ahead and say OK. This will give us a very basic report, very basic chart. The idea of this chart is to see the percentage of activities based on the data of the report. You see that the chart came in underneath our table data. I can use my objects window to move it up with the arrows. I want the chart to be on top there. I want to apply a filter to my chart, so to do that I'm going to apply the same filter to my chart as I have on my tasks table. So if I choose the tasks table and I open up the formula on the filter, I will then copy the filter from the tasks table and apply it to my chart. This will allow the chart to show the same data that we're seeing in the tasks. I'm going to double click to open the chart properties, and there's a filter option, and I'll go ahead and choose formula and paste in my filter. Above this, I'm going to go ahead and set the minimum share, so the minimum wedge, I'm going to set that to 10%. It has to have at least 10% of the share. Actually, let's do 5 here. Let's have at least 5% of the share. I'm also going to go ahead and come down here to the coordinate label and set that font to be a size 10 just so that it's a little smaller. I'll also do the same thing on the coordinate label others. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the segment tab here. So this is the data source is just what information am I looking at, the share, the filter, and some formatting. The segment is what does each segment represent. Right now it's a count of 1, which is what we want. I want this to be the count of tasks.activity. So that each of these is going to be the percent count of activity. I'm going to go ahead and choose the label on object. I'm also going to set that font size to 10. I'll pop over to the diagram area, and I'm going to go ahead and put a title on here called percent task activity by department and date range. Of course, you want to put titles on your graphics that make sense. I will also expand the background. You'll see that the filling is defaulted to the background of pattern block color. You may want to set this to transparent, but I will just show you what that causes. We don't advise that you set the background to transparent. I've saved the report and refreshed it. And let's run it for 5-1. So we see how our text here is a little bit fuzzy. The reason for that is because we set the background of our chart to transparent. So I'm going to come back into my chart under diagram area, and I'm going to set this back to pattern block color. That's just something to be aware of. I know many people are going to want to set transparent backgrounds, but that is what causes that fuzzy text. I'm going to say OK there and save the report. Now, this chart is taking up a significant chunk of space. If I come back here, we've got a lot of space. Let's go ahead and make the chart a little bit smaller. The way that I can do that is having selected the chart object, I can scroll through to my properties, and I'm looking for the output height. I'm going to set it to be 2 inches so that this chart can only be 2 inches tall. I'm also going to expand the spacing, and I'm going to go ahead and put a right spacing on here of 4 inches so that my chart is bumped over, and actually let's do 5 inches here, so that my chart is bumped over to the right-hand side. Or the left-hand side. We will utilize this space later on. We will go ahead and save the report, and let's refresh it to see what it looks like for us. All right, so we've got our chart here. It tells us that 35% were chip seals, 32 were inspections, and so on. All right, we will go ahead and move on to the next bit of this report, which is applying advanced static text. We're going to go ahead and combine these objects here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my tasks by, I'm going to go ahead and open up my date range, and I'm actually going to do Control-C to copy that out and then delete this object. I'm going to double click to open the tasks by date title, and I'm going to go ahead and click the blank line down here and paste. This will put that date range that I just put in here. Double click on here to just edit my title. And say OK. I'm also going to go ahead and select this new line, or these 3 dashes. It's a new line, and choose new. And in here, I want to type something like departments, including my spaces. Basically, I want to just have the report show me all the departments that we ran the report for. I'm going to go ahead and align that centered, and we'll go ahead and expand this guy out here. Now if I save my report, refresh it, run it for another good date range, hit apply, you see we have our departments and our date range. All right, so the next thing we're going to do on this report is we're going to apply a summary table by department. So we're going to put another container right here that shows me a summary of all the data underneath. So at a quick glance, I could go ahead and understand what data this report's going to show me. So in the designer, I'm going to click on the Insert tab and choose Report Container and draw the report container in here next to my chart. I'm going to go ahead and choose Table. Tasks, of course, will be my record set. And the fields I want here are simply department, task ID, and total cost. So this will start out as a very, very simple table, but we're going to go ahead and make some changes to it. Now over here in the objects list, you'll see now we have two tables that say table tasks. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a name of summary so that in my objects I know what I'm looking at. I'm going to go ahead and save the report. Now I'm going to double click on the summary to open it up, and we will go ahead and format this guy. I'm going to go ahead and put a new line definition on the header line and do a new field. And this is going to be the name of my table, so it's going to be summary for tasks and costs. I'm going to say OK. I'll go ahead and select line definition 2 and bump it up to be 1, so the name, if I say OK, the name will bump up to the top. And so I'll expand it out. So we've got a name of our table and then the table underneath. Now if I come back into table contents, I'm going to go ahead and center align this. I'm going to go ahead and change these fields under here to be department. This is going to be task count. And these are just the labels. And then I'm going to set this one to be a label of average cost. So now we have an idea of what we're going to go ahead and do in the data line. I'm going to actually click over to the footer line first and delete that guy out. I'm going to click on group footer and I'll be prompted to choose a new table line definition. I'm going to choose the line definition under data because I want all my information to be in the group footer because we're going to group by tasks department. I want one line per department. So I'll have the department. I'm going to do a count on the task ID. So I'll put a count function in. And then I want the average total cost. So I'm going to use my average function. I'll go ahead and set this to be a format of currency since it's a number or it's a dollar amount. I'm going to say OK there. So now you'll see that I have department, task count, average cost, water, 1480. This is the task ID and this is the task cost. This line right here is my group footer where we won't see results until we actually run the report. But before we do that, we want to go ahead and click on our tasks table here and go ahead and copy the filter again. We want to apply this filter to all the objects that are separate elements in this report so that we see the proper data for everything. I'm going to do Control V to paste that in there. And then in the properties, we'll go ahead and scroll down. I'm going to expand data lines and choose suppress data lines. The reason I use suppress data lines is I'm actually interested in seeing the group footer rather than the data line itself, but the data lines have to be there in order for the groupings to work. I'm also going to go ahead and choose sort order. Now, whenever you want to do a grouping, say in this case we're grouping by department, you also have to sort by that field. So I'm going to come into my sort order here and search for department. I'm going to go ahead and save the report. And we will refresh this report and see what we got. All right, so we now have a chart on our report. The nice thing about the charts is you can change the type of chart just by double-clicking on, let's double-click on our chart here. We can change the type of chart just by double-clicking, and some of the fields that you need to fill in will change. However, in this case, we're going to go ahead and leave it as a circle chart. We also have our summary table, so this is just a summary that for the departments of Bridge, Public Works, Sign, and Street. These are the information, the task counts, and the average costs of those. Now you can see that we chose all these different departments, but that would tell me that we don't have any data for those. So that's important to note that the parameter here, where it's displaying all the departments that we chose, is giving us everything, versus this summary table is giving us a summary of the data below. So we chose all of these departments, but only these 4 departments had data. All right, that is it for the task by date advanced report. We will go on to do the advanced sign inspection report in our next video.